Well, it looks like it's not working at this moment with a little bit of technical difficulties, microphone downplay. Interesting. Just like our C team, things are not working according to plan just yet. So we'll be right back. Give us a few more minutes. We're trying to figure out all the kinks and we'll go from there. This is your boy Musa. Hopefully, we'll see you soon and, talk about what it's going on at this moment. I know everybody is on edge. Everybody's talking about what could go wrong and what is currently going wrong. But also at the same time, starting to wonder what is going right. And also, who will be stepping up to the plate to show us what the team is actually made out of? Because we were definitely not inspired by the last game. Actually, matter of fact, we were not really inspired by the last three games that happens with City. Losing against our arch rival, that is definitely not in the books. It hurts to talk about, but also at the same time, may have been a little bit expected. But I think, is it time to bring the camera back on? Because hopefully it will work. But at this moment, it isn't, just like our team. But hey, I think there could be things a lot worse. All right, so just give me just a few more minutes while we try to figure out why the intro did not play, and we go from there. So, calm down will be coming up, and I will be right back. All right, and thanks for those of you that joined me just now. Go ahead and put your question in the comments below. Let me know how you're feeling about the state of St. Louis City SC, and I will be right back with you all. It's going to be quite interesting. The camera will be on. So, and also, if you think you feel that you are have a burning sensation or burning want to talk about this, go ahead and let me know in the comments that you want to join and just let us know how you feel. I promise it's a safe space. Once the camera is back on in just a few minutes. So just bear with me and go ahead, put in the comments below. We'll be right back. Oscar, why am I not surprised of what is coming out of your mouth? Oscar, why am I not surprised about those emojis? But hey, if you feel adventurous, come join me and let's talk about it and maybe save a little bit of that madness. But Oscar, I know what's coming, but I have a few things that I'm thinking maybe you and I think on this day today, we may all feel like Oscar. All right, so Daniel, my good friend. So your question: do you think we have the right players to play the system, and if Melberg is the right manager for the team? Brother, that's the first thing you start with me is you starting with the the very difficult questions. And the answer is I don't know yet. So here's the reason why I don't know yet if we have the right plays. I think for me, the biggest thing that's we're not certain of, and even the players are not certain, is maybe his style of play. We know Melberg, he's a legend in European football and world football, and he's has more of a defensive mind. Yesterday, clearly 2-0 and being scored 2 goals in a lack of defense does not look very good. But also at the same time, it's kind of hard to knock the defense because, if you're defending so much, you have so much pressure and every ball is coming to your side. So that means you're about to have maybe a lap of mental, sharpness. And that's where we need our midfielder and our forwards to kind of, put the pressure on the other side of the field so that our defenders can kind of reset, catch your breath a little bit, take an assessment on where the ball is going, the players are going. But if the ball keeps coming at you, keep coming at you, these things about to happen. And I think the first goal was one of those where, two defenders pretty much kind of missed the ball and let them free to have that free kick. I think that's where you could maybe prevent it if they had maybe a few seconds to kind of recover. The second goal, that one hurts. I think it hit the post, yes, but also it's one of those things where maybe put a bit of a body into that, to chase the ball. You could see it from when Austin was in town, and you saw also SKC. Some of these players were like flying on the ball. Every shots they was contested. Every shots there was a body there. That's what prevented us from scoring goals in the last 2 games. All right, Oscar, I will send you the link, and let's see if I can find the right, because this is a new PC. So I'll go ahead and send you the link, and we'll see on here where I can find, because I think it's BSK4. So Daniel, hopefully that's what kind of helps you with that question. For the right coach, right players, I think he will come. But the worst thing for me, and the one that hurts, is that who we lost against, the way we lost, and also I kind of feel for the fans and certainly the fans. You guys show out to that game. There was almost no excuse for that type of performance. All right, so give me 1 second. I will have our good friend Oscar, because I'm sure he has some hot takes, but we also have to save those for tomorrow on the Top Corner Talk as well. So it's going to be quite interesting. So give me a few minutes. I will make sure that Oscar comes and let's talk it up. And then if you find, if you think you want to show and talk, be my guest. But to that, I'll be right back. See, that's what happens when you go and change computers so many times. Now you don't have everything tip of your hands. So, Oscar, you'll be on very soon. All right, so let's see. Oscar. Where's the stream? All right, so Daniel. So I guess while I'm trying to get Oscar back on here, you go ahead and let me know what what do you think? Um, is it a coach or some or the players that we don't have to play? I have a I kind of know what you're talking about, but let's see. So Daniel, what is your thoughts on what the biggest issue is? All right, so finally, Oscar, if you go on your Blue Sky account, I sent you a message with the link to join us on Streamline. So, Daniel, so you say you feel like we have the players that want to control the ball more. Um, yes, and I think probably one thing that many people are probably not used to outside of the 3 years that we started is that we had the Red Bull kind of expectations for most of the players at the moment. That may have changed a lot, but also the players that kind of made us enjoy that Red Bull, like um, Vasilet. Um, I think it's probably one of the biggest loss that we've had this season because he was kind of the glue between the offense and the defense. And he's also the kind of players, that had that dog attitude that we're certainly missing now. It is quite interesting at the same time that some people are bringing up Bloom if he's still available because he's also have sort of that midfielder mentality, competitive combat. So it's quite interesting now. We're in a certain space now with city soccer that I don't I don't know. Um, it's quite I don't have my finger on it just yet, even though we're right spank in the middle of the season. Um, and before I have Oscar jump on it, my point of view, especially on where we are now at the moment with the team, is that we saw, a few brilliant moments from City. When the right time came in, they sort of showed up. But one thing that I'm kind of missing is I don't know, maybe a little bit more attitude. We may have too many nice players, or I don't know. I think maybe my friend Oscar might be one of those guys that might, press a little bit more buttons. But I think for me, what's missing here. It's like the exciting player that we miss one like Vasilev was someone that has or oh I forget he now moved to DC, but someone that has
Yeah.
that I don't give a what attitude on the field that we're missing. And I think you might be on mute if
Um, you hear me?
because I cannot hear you. Stroud, yes. Or is it me that cannot hear you?
I
Oh, so give me 1 second. All right, Oscar, can you speak now?
yeah. I'm on. You
Oh,
hear
you can
me?
hear Oscar, so maybe it's me. All right, so I will be right back.
Hello, hello, hello. Okay, cool, Daniel.
All right.
Let's see. You hear me now, Mo?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right, perfect. All right, so I don't need headphones, I guess. All right, so Oscar, so you were one of those that actually traveled to Kansas.
To Kansas,
Yes,
unfortunately.
fortunately. So you say unfortunately. So we've seen a lot of the tweets and all the things online, and there's like the things are going all over the place when it comes to
Right.
city. So as Oscar, right, a traveling fan, how do you feel? Because there's right, so there's two ways, right, in a loss. There's a loss when a good performance, and you go back and you say
Right.
they were better than us, and you can go home with some, feel of well. But
Yeah.
now I think it's almost unanimous that this was not a game that we can take much from.
No. No. I mean, unfortunately, um, they just didn't show up. In my opinion, I think they were. It was a performance that it was very disrespectful with the fans. I mean, we got there and we did not stop chanting for 80 plus minutes. I mean, we cheer for 15 minutes before the game starting, not letting anything from KC fans to be
Yes.
heard or anything. They have to put the speakers out loud, put the music as blasting out just to shut us down. And um, so I mean, we brought it in. We had everything that we could, and just seeing just the reaction of the team because I mean, in the first half, it was like a decent first half, but
Yeah.
knowing that it was a team that it was dead last with no wins in 13 games, and not creating enough because I thought for me as a fan, I wanted my team to go out and destroy them.
Oh,
This was the game that you wanted to have a different mentality, I think, um, because why we were so afraid of Kansas City in that moment, like we shouldn't. So why do we have to play back?
yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted that to be, I wanted to be the mentality of like, let's not be afraid of going and put pressure on them. We have the players. We know we have the mentality of high press and we can execute that. But I think that's one thing that Daniel is kind of like asking is the mentality is on the coach. Like we literally we were told when he was coming in that he could adapt and he could have different systems and had different ways to play and that he was gonna respect the high press that the team has been built
Right.
upon. We haven't seen any of that this year, and he has not changed. He doesn't. He has not adapted. He played defensively against the worst team in the league,
Yeah, yeah, there
trying
are.
to play counterattack. So it was sincerely a very frustrating game. I know we had great two opportunities in the first half. That post from Wallen, we
That
all
was like,
thought it was in.
yeah.
We were all our visual.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're in the different corners, so our visual was legit. Like that went in, and we were all celebrating when we just see the other player kick it out, and we are like, "Oh, it did not go in. Oh, it did
Yeah,
not go in." And we were like, "Can't believe it." So
yeah,
um, that was there. I mean, in the second half, you can't really mention anything positive.
no,
Everything was, and um, it's just frustrating. I mean, I don't think we were respected. I don't think they feel like they're playing that they're not value what we as a fan base represent.
yeah, and I think that's probably that one part that was interesting. Um, and internally there was quite a few people who were talking like, when we had the previous derbies, the past last few years, there were some of the players that kind of knew what that meant because they kind of been around. I don't know if I don't know if we put as much emphasis this year of who Kansas City is versus St. Louis. Like, all the billboard and all like the hype that was put behind those games. I guess kind of was almost non-existent today, except maybe a few posts on there. Um, and especially just seeing it how it played out. Maybe the first 15 minutes, I was like, "Oh, this gonna be crazy," because Wellham and Celio, they were going at it, and you could see Kansas City. They were playing. Their spirit was not high whatsoever.
No,
You
no.
could see that they were like, "Oh snap, here we go again," because there was all these chances. But that's what happens where you kind of like the missing sort of the killer mentality,
Mm-hmm.
because when you have these chances, it bound to happen. But if you have all these chances and then you're like, damn, once again, we're not going to score, that's when you're like, so like there's those two mentalities. If you miss
Yeah.
it, then you're like excited to go back and score, or you miss it and you're like, damn, here we go again. And I'm feeling that was after those two Wallen misses. I think that's where kind of the tempo went sort of down, and then it was like crap. And the second half, like you said, is that, and I even watched the after the game questions. This they were talking about Kansas City and like their mentality at the half. Apparently, some of the players there were saying, we're not losing this game, right? That's
Right.
what these guys were saying on there. They were, hyping themselves. So that's pretty much what showed on the second half is that they're like, oh snap, St. Louis is not able to score. They're going down a little bit. This is our time. And
Mm-hmm.
they literally took that chance where, you know, a wounded animal, if you don't kill it, it's bound to kill you
It'll
after.
bite you.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what happened is that, you get slapped. You poke the bear enough that is like, and I, and we have the players. Kansas City is not better than us whatsoever. They just
No.
they just have those players that know what happened last year. Also, Dembele was there that killed us during the playoffs. I'm sure he spoke to those players that like this is not happening. That Jensen kid, he's from St. Louis. He's a St. Louis product. The one that chanted in front of you guys that started the brawl. He's
Mm-hmm.
from St. Louis. From what they told us, he played St. Louis FC, right?
Yeah.
So and he showed these he celebrated that he beat St. Louis. I'm wondering if there's that one part that's missing is that I don't think they should have put everything on the line at that game.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They should
I
have
mean,
put
they're
their
playing.
bodies on the ball. Every shot should have had like two or three people jumping. Um, I started the video. That's the same thing I said about when we play Austin. If you watch towards the end of the games when we had the great last 15 minutes when we were like pounding him with shots, they had one or two bodies in front of the ball at all time.
Yes, yes,
I have not seen
and
that from us yet.
they did. I mean, they have that, and I think we mentioned it last week where um we were saying they're gonna have that little blood in their eyes.
Mhm.
They had that fire that they're starting a new process. They want to show the new coach, that they can do it. They're gonna leave everything on the line, and they did. Like they were fire up, even they were not playing very well, not showing too much of a life, but they were not giving up anything.
Right.
And you see it in every ball, every 50-50 ball, they were going hard. They were trying to push the limits, and in like any type of contact, like they were trying to get as much as possible
Right.
for their benefit. And they did that. They the first 15 minutes, for example, I think they had like six fouls in favor of them because they were playing smartly. They were putting body in front, going down softly, but at the same time like good enough for a foul, disrupt the game. And then, like you say, it's same as Austin. Any type of shot, like there were two, three bodies going hard to block those shots, not
Yeah.
letting any comfortable shots or anything like easy for them. Um, and the two spots that we were able to find behind their backs, we were not good enough to finish.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it takes, right? I think those if one of those two shots would have gone in,
Oh, we
that's
beat
where
them
it
for
would.
nothing.
Yes, that's where the spirit would have crushed. And I think that was the difference that we had was that their mentality at the game was that they have not scored on us, and now we're at home and we're not losing this game. Daniel, I saw that you put, that Berkey was, was talking about it, but the question now is to what extent, and also, was Berkey at the game today? Yesterday, that might be one of those questions. Um,
Well, I don't know if I think Annie was saying like in the year past, Berkey started the conversation on the first day of training. He's like,
yeah,
"Hey, we know he's the our classic rival. We're gonna beat them. We're gonna start. We're not gonna give up anything." And during this week, I didn't hear anything about it. So you're really on the dot there, where um, it was not given the expectations or the self pressure it's on beating Kansas. Um, in the press conference on Friday, nobody told anything to Olaf. Nobody asked them. Nobody said like, "Hey, this is a must-win game. Is a classic rival." Nobody mentioned that, and I think we went to this game like thinking it was just another game, and it's not true. And
oh,
that's why like we feel like we're not valued as a fans because we this is a different game. I saw comments on a post yesterday from the Kansas City because I went to see what they were saying after the win when they post their team post, and there was a few comments like, "Oh, I don't care how bad they do, but I'm glad we won today."
yeah,
Like it was like for me, I'm happy now. We beat them here, and they cannot say anything about it. They didn't do anything, and we can lose the rest of the games, and doesn't matter. Like we
yeah.
did what we needed to do this year.
Oh, they showed, and I think there was one that said, that their fans showed up, but the team didn't. Um, and I was watching it, and I was watching the tweets. It's like you guys were louder than them, um, and it was a rival. There was a rival in town, and there were still empty seats. I know
Yeah,
I don't really
yeah,
like to talk about the whole stadium empty seats, but there's that one part that also says that differentiate, right? Our team is still not doing so well, but the stadium is still packed. So, that relationship, that 50-50 relationship, the fans have, accomplished that goal above and beyond pretty much from the season has already started. Um, and I think that's probably the one piece that's missing. I think that's why I keep on bringing Vasilev back to that same
yeah.
conversation is And Stroud was also one of those guys, running everywhere and say, hey, if the coach says I'm going to play defense today, this is what I'm going to play. If he says I'm going to be a striker, then so be it. I do we have two nice players, or we're not too sure about what's missing, or they're still learning what Melbourne needs them to do? Because it looks like there's a little bit of that mixture on that, where maybe not too sure what they want to do, or we emphasize too much on defense.
Yeah.
And then our injury list looks like a ER.
I mean, I wouldn't give that excuse. I mean,
It's not an excuse. I think it's like on top of everything else that's horrendous.
I think still is an excuse. I mean, let's put it this way, and I would like to get really deep in that tomorrow, but it just, you build a team, and you had a 5-year plan, right?
Yep.
Because that's what we were told. It was a 5-year plan.
We're in year 5, I think.
This is the 5th year. Yes. And you build a team currently of the style that you wanted to play. And at the beginning, you had the pieces and the coach mentality to do that.
Right.
But now you have changed some of the pieces that they were working very well on that system. You brought more talented players that play different, and like they can also play a little bit of that style. But then you complement that with a new coach that has no idea how to implement the high press.
Yeah, it looks. Yes, I think that one I'm still waiting to see if that's, I guess, his forte per se. I've not seen it just yet. And I think yesterday also I saw that Hartel was like almost all the way to the box trying to pick up the ball, which it's kind of hard for a creative player, to start from your goal side to go all the way up. That's one thing. It was definitely a last luster performance. And at this point, for me, and I typically do not get that upset, and put those posts and all that, but for one game that we did not want to lose, and the way we lost hurts even more than, they're in last place. So they're the worst team in the league. And we happen to give them their first win of the season. They're still hanging this whole playoff thing over our head. I mean,
and we haven't beat them over there anyway. So.
No. So it's like they know. So I know many St. Louis fans probably not like that, but this whole City Park West or Energizer West, they might as well just rip every single thing they have on it until City can beat them. Well, actually, you know what? We cannot even call it as such until at least we win 3 games over there. Because
I mean, we have to make it even on our results over there. But I mean, I see the point where, I mean, our fans want to call it that because we basically fill out the stadium for them.
Yeah.
So
but then we go.
I mean, I get it. So is in our fan base, we definitely are better than them. We show up. We're louder. I'll tell you, like, I didn't hear a chant until the second goal. Like once they scored the second goal, then we went quiet because that was just a dagger in everything. But we didn't hear anything. Like even like with the south end that they have also drums and anything, like they were not even present. We were drowning them every time they tried to do any chant. They were all just watching. You could see like even like the quadrant were not even jumping, moving, nothing. Like it seemed like it was a paint. And over there. So, but once they hit the 2-0, obviously they woke up. They knew it's ours, and we couldn't. I mean, nobody wanted to continue singing for that performance, so it was very upsetting. So, but yeah, I mean, going back to our system, I think it's we have gone away from what the ideal system was, and we have mentioned that being solid on defense is great, but at the same time, at what cost? Because now we're depending on having a shutout, and if we don't get a shutout, we're not winning the game.
Yeah, yeah,
We're not even tying the game. So it's we get a goal scored on us, and it's basically it's over for us. Like if we're not creating enough, we're not sharp enough. Because even if we get 11, I think we had 11 shots
yep.
total
But
yesterday. That is not great, but at the same time, there's still 11, and we had like three big chances, and we couldn't finish those opportunities. Then we know that we're gonna struggle if our defensive play doesn't do the job, and we don't have that zero error defensive performances anymore. Like the
no,
first three were great, but now we don't. Now we're lacking on little pieces and creating spaces for these people, um and and it's part because of the injuries and part because you have moved the pieces around too much and you're
yeah,
not giving that solid um time to gear up those three. I think like he's moving it everywhere, and now well, Horn got hurt, and I think he was one of the main pieces
yep,
on those three. I mean, obviously Kessler is the head of the defense, but Horn was has been very solid. And I don't know, like there's a question of where Baumgartel is.
yeah.
Like
Oh, that's
everybody's
good.
trying to find him. Like, like what's happening? It's we still convinced that Hebert or Yato and even Nilsson are bigger pieces than Baumgartel.
Not the way
Then
he was
why did
running.
we bring him?
Yeah, yeah, and that was that one. No one knows. I don't think we. Maybe that will be a question we might have to ask Lutz or anyone. Of like at least get an idea of is it fitness or is it not gelling? Because the last time we saw a player that did not play as much, he went back to Europe very quickly.
Very quick.
Yeah, so we'll hate to see that part. But one thing I keep thinking is that yes, our defense is doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? But at one point, if they have to be the main piece the whole entire game, there will be a lack of attention, or you cannot be defending 90%. We'll say 70% of the game and not make an error. You're
Right.
supposed to have your midfield and your forwards, kind of give you that breather for your three defenders to kind of talk to each other, assess what happened in the last two plays, so that you can readjust. But if you have, an onslaught of like opportunity towards you, you're pretty much on survivor mode, right? Wherever the ball goes, that's where you go. Um, and those forwards know all well, and I think that's how those two goals happen, right? Is that keep pressure, 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 then you're going to lose a man, and the first goal happens. The
Yeah.
second one, I think that one made me almost a little bit more upset because you saw the ball hit the post, right? But the only player that made a reaction to jump on it was a SKC
Yeah.
player.
Who was
I
that
would have
guy?
thought like just threw yourself in, right?
Yeah. Who was that guy?
Which one?
The one who scored the two goals.
Chovalix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And where was he
DP.
last year?
He's a champ. He has a ring.
And for how much he was sold for KC?
Is it what 15?
4 million.
Four. All right. Well, I
I
was off
believe.
nice.
I believe it was 4. So
Yeah.
you telling me that a player that quality was free and we have a DP spot available and we're not we were oh no, we're good because we have Klaus and Betcher.
Yeah. I don't. So that one, I don't know what may have transpired. How that how SKC knew about the transfer or something. Um, you have a point. Well, I think Klaus cost the same amount when I think the first season was about that 4 million that they paid to bring him in. So that makes a total sense. And I think that was the only player you needed to guard to make sure it did not kill you, because he was literally the one that helped LA Galaxy win it.
Yeah.
Anyways, and
And he's the one that is performing the best right now with
yeah,
KC. The thing with KC is not because he's not performing. The thing is because he performs, but at the same time he doesn't have a cast behind him that
yep,
is giving them enough support. Well, this game they did. They give him enough opportunity to create two chances, and like in the two chances he got, he scored.
yeah, and they were saying, hey, this, like you said, right? They said we are not losing this game, and I think sometimes when players know what happens, the history of it, they have a St. Louis kid that's playing. He played his ass off last game, so he had a point to show, right? Um, a lot of the players in the SKC played against us during the playoffs, so they know exactly what to expect, and that's what unfortunately our team was not able to show,
Yeah,
because no, one showed up, the others didn't, and that's kind of the type of football I like to see, right? When players know what game that is.
yeah,
Most of St. Louis, right? We know we may lose against other teams, but once it comes to SKC, there's a huge difference of lost.
yeah, yeah. And I think like one thing that it hurts like from yesterday on the fan perspective is like they didn't show any type of reaction, any type of willing to tie the game. Like really,
Mhm.
they did it because of the motion of the game created some chances, but not because they were fired up, not because they wanted to tie the game itself. Because you see the reactions of the players where sometimes like they got to a 50-50 ball after a 1-0
Yeah.
against, like you see the reactions, they go hard, like they go get a yellow, go get
Yep.
I don't know, like a big push or somewhere. Um, and we didn't see any of that. I mean, couple corners where Hartel tried to pump us up in our corner, but I mean, like he's
That's
like
a
pump us
hotel
up
thing, though.
how? Like we have been singing and chanting and like with with no megaphones, with nothing, with just like our voices coordinating everything, like and just trying to pump on that. And then what it kind of like got the fan base more pissed off was
Mhm.
at the end, not because of the KC players did something to us, because that's a normal reaction. Hey, you're in your stadium, you want to shush us out in the moment that you did something good, and that's a normal thing. I mean,
Right.
I'm not
And
offended by all means. I'm not offended with any
no,
the two players of the Kansas City. They did what they needed to do. They knew they were smart. They knew they were gonna create a little chaos in there, and that's what they wanted.
and
What
it's
it
a St. Louis
offends me
kid that
is,
did
yeah,
it.
I mean, but what it offends me is that it took those moments
Mhm.
to have two of our players getting pissed off that they were losing.
Yeah, yeah, that. Oh,
And that offends me because Klaus, I have been defending Klaus this year
mhm.
because he doesn't have the support that he needs to. In my opinion, he's not getting enough balls and not enough playing time.
Right.
But this game, he had the time and he did not perform well. He lost a lot of balls. He didn't show the fire that we were expecting to show. And the only moment is when someone told us to shush, and then he goes and tries to start a fight.
Mm.
And it's like, well, it's 5 minutes left on the game. Like you should have done that first five
Yeah.
minutes of the
First,
game.
yeah. What? Yeah, pretty much.
Make the defender think like, hey, you're not gonna mess up with us today.
Mhm.
But nothing happened. And then when the game was over and David comes in and that's all that celebration in front of us. I mean, obviously we're pissed off, we're yelling at him and all that, whatever. Um, and then Twitcher that touched the ball twice in the game and his minutes that they were in there, and then he comes fire up saying like, "Don't do that," and it's like, well, he can do all he wants because actually he ran and he played 90 minutes that he battled in 90 minutes comparing to you guys that you guys decided to battle 2 minutes after someone tried to shush us.
Yeah, I give him a little credits because he did run like I think from the midfield all the way. So I see
And the
that
sub.
part. Yes. So I understand that part. Yeah,
I'm gonna plug my computer is gonna
yeah,
die.
yeah. So it's one of it's so it's definitely interesting on how the next thing I'm wondering now is the reaction of St. Louis on Sunday. Because first we have AZ Jackson that's coming back to town. We have Columbus that's doing pretty well. And we have a team that literally got shut out 3 games in a row. Now that's my concern is what team are we going to see on Sunday? And we'll probably might not go in too much details because we have, the top corner talk tomorrow, and that's where we'll go over a lot more of the details. I think we just need to get this one off our chest, mostly for me. And a good night's sleep was very good because if I would have recorded it the same night, it may have been a different discussion, and I may have gotten a
Oh,
few
you.
texts from people.
Yeah, I think same my ways. I mean, I was pretty upset last night, and I mean this morning I woke up and like I was still kind of like maybe a little depressed and more
Yeah.
than angry. Um, but yeah, I mean there's a big question of what we're gonna see, and I think um we were trying to figure out what type of team we have, what's the city that we're gonna see, and um, more and more games come through. I think we are really seeing the city that we have,
Yeah.
and it's a city that is scared of attacking, that is basing on all the hopes or being solid defensively and finding counterattacks and teams that they give space behind and creating something like that. Um,
Yeah, but counter is not working though, because
but
we
there's because we're not building up from the back.
yeah,
It's just they're like LA Galaxy. How we won that game? Two mistakes picked up from the midfield with quick counters, basically.
which is what we're supposed to be known for.
Right, but they were we were supposed to be known on pressing high, but that was not even a press high. That was a midfield mistake. Quick three passes. We made it to the other side.
Yeah, but
Thankfully.
yeah, but I will say that our pressure high, above midfield is not going to happen. We don't have those players anymore to do that. Um, I think almost the way I see our high pressure is almost like closer to midfield because we don't have the speed or the anger to press that high. Because I was watching the game just earlier. You could see when Casey had the ball in their defense, right? And they were holding the ball, trying to see where to pass it next. If you've seen it from the previous 2 years, that's not how we played.
Mm-mm.
If a defender, the last center back had the ball, Klaus was right to their face, and that's how those plethora 5, 6, 7 goals happen. Is because Klaus was in the face of the center back before the ball was passed. Now we're pretty much letting them build it up all the way to like midfield because that's where Klaus is most likely going to be now these days.
Yeah.
And then we push up. So that high pressure is almost like a midfield pressure now these days, not high.
Be, but because we're setting up our squat that deep,
Yep.
like we don't want to give up anything behind it, so we're not stretching our our team. So they're all compact. That is technically good, but it's good when you're defending or when you're winning a game already, and you're compact and you're forcing the other team to put numbers up front. But with a 0-0 game and you're already compact in your half, that the only thing that it's creating is big distance for your forwards and attacking midfielders to cover. Because when you try to counterattack, you're counterattacking from your own half.
Yeah.
We saw Celio going 40 yards, 50 yards on runs because he had to cover that much of a space. Where we're doing the high press, you only have to make that quick run of 20 yards.
Yep. And
So
in dribbling, you cannot dribble for 40, 50 yard back. Oh,
no, they catch you up.
yeah.
um, so yeah, I think it's problem of our system, and I don't think it's gonna change. I think I've seen in now enough that we have 7 games, I believe, and they have been all similar, and it becomes more of a issue when you analyze. Okay, so the first 3 games we didn't get score on,
Yep.
but let's see who we play. So we did Colorado, that they didn't really put any pressure
Yep.
on the defense. Like they were just okay to having a 0 on their end.
Yep.
Um, they were tired. They were trying to play CONCACAF champions. So that game was not really a positive game for us.
Now we lost that game.
Now that we think about it, right? So it's like, okay, well, 0-0. They didn't get a shot on goal, whatever. So we were like all positive, thinking that. But then you move on and you say San Diego. San Diego dominated that game. They should have won that game, but why they didn't get it? Because Kessler had a tremendous performance, blocking everything, and whatever was not blocked by Kessler was blocked. If not by Heaver, it was Burke.
Yep.
Right. Then move on to the third one that we all got faked out winning LA Galaxy. And everybody is like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be good." Like we're reacting good and whatever. But if you look in deep that game, if Berkey was not on goal,
It was
or
a long day.
or even Lutz has a great day, but if Berkey doesn't have those saves that he had in first half, we would have lost that game because he
Fair.
stood on his head in the first half, keeping zeros, and then we got that mistake on the corner to get us 1-0. And then even on the second half, when we were still 1-0, Berkey had a few saves again. Then we got the 2-0. Then
They were good.
Peck randomly lost that wide open goal that you don't see that.
Not
Would have
from
been
them.
2-1. Would have been 2-1, and then game on, right? But because he missed, so the other thing happened. We got the 3-0, and everybody's like, "Oh, extremely happy." And I was like, it wasn't really a solid defensive. It was because Berkey saved us that day.
The typical Berkey, but yeah.
So let's not say that we were super solid in defense. It's just where we had some luck. The first game was nothing to show. Second game, San Diego couldn't finish. LA was not strong enough, and also we had Berkey.
Yep.
And then we start going to the other games when we getting scored, giving up 1 cheap goal, 2 cheap goals, mistakes on the back, open spaces, and we don't create anything up front.
Yeah, and I guess like you don't like the injury talks, but I think it also highlights some of those part where we're kind of like missing some key parts. Yes, it's maybe a little bit of an excuse, but also at the same time, it looks like we need the players that are available to step up and show us what they have as well. Because at this moment, I know Ben is doing his job. He's supposed to he's making those stops like he's supposed to. I think sometimes maybe he almost feel a little scared. I don't know if it's just how he is, but maybe he doesn't command as like a Berkey would. Yeah. But that's when then you need to say, hey, then who's the next person that's supposed to be that have that mentality to be that leader? At this moment, it's like I'm still trying to find who's the leader on the field when the others aren't there. Like Berkey's the guy. Like, okay. Leuven is the guy when he has the armband, it's okay. But then after that, I'm like, who else?
Yeah.
Because there's no. We had those guys before, right? That's why T. Parker was in the hurdle talking. You hear him talk, you're going to war,
Hmm.
or else he will show it to you. So we've had those players that showed us that. I'm still waiting to see that I don't give a bleep attitude in those
Hmm.
guys. We have all the skills needed to beat any teams we want, but we don't have almost. We're missing. We may have the players, but like the it factor that every team is like, we have to be scared of these guys, so we're going to double, triple them, and then it's another player will have their best day forward.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think that's very.
I agree. I agree. There's not a commander. There's no someone that will pump the team.
We'll get a
And
yellow. Oh, oh
well,
some. Yeah,
yeah, some reaction like
yeah,
when we get in bad situations. Uh, there's not a player that tries to start a fire. It's very mellow and everything. And Hartel, I think, just because he's a talented player is because he's getting the armband right now, but it doesn't seem someone that pumps people up. He only tries to pump up the corners, but
yeah, and
he
yeah, he does. You can see him
he
have
he
that.
does that, but at the same time, like he doesn't pump his team. When we got score on, I look at Hartel and he was like,
Oh yeah, oh,
and you're like,
mm,
we can't have that, especially we can see like you're losing 1-0 and you don't want heads down. You should be the entire team going, let's go, we're gonna get this back, let's go. But there was not.
oh
It hits
yeah,
them. It hit them really hard. So
and Daniel. So, and your question on if Flutes is upset and unhappy how the season, I will tell you yes, 100% yes. Um, from the horse's mouth, but also you could hear from the interview today as well. He had some, direct shots at some of the players also. Um, but now I'm starting. I think there needs to be like a clear message from like the top all the way to bottom. That's like, hey, listen, we're what I've learned from St. Louis at this moment is that when your sports teams are doing what they're supposed to do, or like, the blue collar working hard, if you show an ounce of that during your whatever sport you're playing on, St. Louis will be behind you 100%.
mhm.
But they can smell when something it's not giving
Yeah,
90%, and you can see it from like all the posts and all the messages. A lot of the conversation is not that we lost to Casey, is that how we lost to Casey
yeah.
is what hurting most people. Um, and we see other players, right? Luna for the U.S. Soccer, when during that game when he saw that they were not doing much, he tried to take over the game, and he ended up with a bloody nose and now has to wear a mask, right? So we want to see at least one of those situations to where you're at 110%. And when somebody asks you a question, a reporter, you're out of breath because you've ran for those 90%, 90 minutes.
So, um, my question for Lutz would be: are you taking yourself in consideration for not being good enough and
Fair?
holding him accountable? Because I think like the big problem on our team starts with him. I
Yeah,
think,
sporting director.
and
Yeah.
it's I'm not gonna get into that because we'll
We'll
talk
say,
tomorrow.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
talk tomorrow. But I think he the way that he's saying and Daniel, obviously he has to be upset, but at the same time, like is he just being that person that he's upset with the players and the coach and how they performing, or he's upset in general? If he's just living, oh, it's the players that they're not. we have a problem.
It's a club. It has to be the whole club. So I guess as we get closer, I know that the next game will be at home against KC, and it looks like on May 14th. But before that, we literally have Columbus, Vancouver,
Vancouver.
LAFC, Seattle, San Diego. Holy crap! Um,
Yeah, I mean, easily we have lost 3 games in a row, and I think we easily could lose 6 or 7 in a row.
yeah, those. I mean, they are having a slump per se. Um, LAFC lost to Houston, okay, but
They have
Vancouver,
to play Miami in the middle of the week, so
yeah.
I think that's why.
And I mean, I'm like Vancouver, literally for a team that's for sale, and they're on top of the Western Conference. Like, ouch.
And I
Um,
mean, Vancouver has our number, anyways.
oh yeah, by all, yeah, they whooped us quite a few times. Yes, so that's the worst. That's the worst thing to do is that we're on the bad time and in Vancouver without skipping Columbus. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting.
If
In
there's
Columbus,
not a change, if there's nothing like it's really clicking on them and saying, "Hey, we have to turn this around," because it's not like the season is horrible, but it's because it has some makeup on.
yes, yeah,
It's because we thankfully had 6 points and 2 wins where we got him from really nothing offensively, but um if nothing, and attitude wise, and like being someone rebel in the field, that thankfully we saw something with Wallem and
oh,
Celia
yeah.
together, that they're both like seem like they really wanted to create stuff, and that was something you say if you want to take something positive of the last 2 games is Wallem and then
Celia.
Celia, obviously. Then if nothing else changes, if the same type scenarios, like we were gonna still play the same way, we are don't have any different strategy, different system, then I I think we are here for a ugly run in the next 3 4 games. So and it goes up to what I mean at this point, like Lutz in the middle of the week is not gonna do anything.
Mm,
Um, yes, the window's still open, but I don't foresee him going out crazy
mm.
and getting something good. I foresee him maybe going getting something Bundesliga 2 type scenario.
Ah,
I foresee him doing that, but not bringing something good. And bringing something good is what is paying off right now. Type of Joveljic, type of Martinez in San Diego that today had a blast and he scored a hat trick.
yes,
Um,
San Jose scoring 6 goals.
and or Chicho or something that is recognized by the league that brings some fear to defenders, not a Bundesliga 2 forward or a Belgium league, Norwegian league striker that is like, oh, it's gonna be the best of the best of the best, and it turns out it's tourism.
Yeah,
Like,
you took me out of that one. Uh, so I think so. Well,
and
we
by the
know that
way, this section is sponsored by
you go.
our
Wow,
goal,
ouch.
our Goal Zero campaign.
No, that's maybe we should take that one off because then that's bad. So I think so. I guess the window is open. We still have it. There's still a DP slot, so we don't know what could happen. Um, with Lutz, you never know. But I think the last part, I guess, before we close out this one, because we have to still save for Top Corner Talk. So make sure you come and join us tomorrow with our good friend Charlie, because we'll have a lot more to talk about. Not only this game, but the next 4 games. Add a little bit of stats. And I think we may have a little bit more stories to talk about. But I think to close this one, from where I stand with how we're playing, it's a top to bottom performance that we have to a lot of ask questions. Hopefully, I don't get the text from a few people after this one, but because I think we've kept it pretty good. Would you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, yes, we want to win. I mean, that's
Without
what
that.
the fans want. I mean, if the club is not understanding that point of view and seeing why we are upset as fans, then they're doing something wrong. And I don't think like the Carolines and the top heads on the table, I don't think they got into this business to fail. I don't
I know.
think they have that mentality. I think they're always been like winner and whatever they do and they put their money in. So
I'm sure they're not happy about
let's
this.
let's,
We're
let's
all
just see. I mean, something has to react, and this is the first time in the 3 years that the fans have been so upset to
yeah,
say
yeah.
it. Because there's different words that I could say right now that
Oh, they're
could get
pissed.
us
But
in
that's the
trouble,
PT
but
thing.
they're yeah.
Yes.
So they're definitely big upsets right now, and this is the first time that you see that is a mass
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
message.
We're a
It's
lot
not
of
just
the
it's just not
the
like a
usual
separate
suspect.
one. It's just a full blown of everybody saying the same thing.
Yeah,
So we'll
yeah,
see what happens.
yeah. And the main topic is not because we lost against KC, is because of how we lost against
Yeah,
KC. That's what hurts the most. And so I think that's what and also want to give a shout out to Josh, especially because he was on the presser. One thing that I also take with a lot of players, across sports, even in Chelsea and all that, when there's a hard loss like this, the players that I see showing on the presser to answer the questions, I usually give them a little bit more of big ups because of that. Because as you know, there's a lot of players that will hide when it comes, to have these type of performers. Typically, you will only see the coach on there. So it's good to see, I think, people talking about it, players kind of showing acknowledgement. Um, Also, shout out to Betcher because I saw on Instagram, he did put a picture of him, but at the bottom was like, the fans deserve better and we should do better. Um, so I think if that kind of messaging is going to some of those players, Betcher should know he's from Kansas, but he played at St. Louis University, so he knows that soccer history too, right? Um, Clout's been around Berkey, so hopefully Berkey will come into that dressing room tomorrow. Like the Kool-Aid guy that comes to the wall all pissed off. Hopefully this it'll be one of those. Um, and I think we'll just have to see what kind of St. Louis we get on Sunday. And AZ's
yeah.
coming back to
It's
town, and he scored.
I mean,
Would you imagine? Would you imagine if he came back on Sunday and scored against us? After
I mean, it
all
was,
of the people give him slack on him, there's people that were talking, a
I
lot of people that were talking on him. Now he's coming hot, like hot, hot.
I will. Um, I'm one of the ones I have hit him hard.
Are you, you
And
know,
I think he had to develop. Yes,
Mhm.
he definitely needed to develop, but I don't think he was worth the praise that they were giving him while he was here.
Mhm.
I think still he's not it, but I think
He's growing.
he
I'm watching
has
some.
he's growing and he has a good coach behind him too. So like
Yeah,
that obviously
yeah.
helps.
Oh yes,
Uh,
that helps.
so
Yeah,
so looks like I had an
yeah.
idea
But look,
right now.
hey,
A balloon
is
in
that
his
is
head.
that a message? And it's pink. Hey, you should go with your ears, your bunny ears you guys received.
Oh, I didn't grab one. I'm not
No,
that type of person.
hey,
Not nothing with the ears, nothing. It's just because I'm not
you're supposed to
so
be angry.
confabulated with the. Yeah, I mean, I'm not so confabulated with the idea of like the Energizer Park and taking all
The bunny.
the bunny stuff. I mean, I'm happy that we have a name for the stadium because that helps economically. So that's not a problem. But yeah, I was looking. I haven't seen really what he did on the game, but looking at his stats a little bit really fast, he definitely had a good performance. So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
definitely growing.
So I think so. So that'll be that's just the icing on the cake. That it's Columbus. This is my countryman who's the coach too. So that'll be quite interesting. So now we have someone that's coming back to St. Louis.
And he's gonna
Hope
be fired up because we we sent him away in not the best way possible. So
yeah, and
and like we send every single player that he has been living this city. I mean, Indy did the same thing. Like he had a great performance against us.
yeah,
Um,
and the
so
coach and
the coach did outcoach our coach. So um, I mean, the only one that we didn't see doing anything, I think, was Gio when he came back with. Well,
Cincy.
maybe we didn't. I don't know if we faced them. No, I don't think we
No,
faced them.
I don't think we played them last. No, because we
So
still have that 5-1 win that we can celebrate on that part. But yes, I think so what it tells us is that it will be quite interesting to see what city we see on Sunday. Um, hopefully, it's the city that we want to see because I'm sure they do not want to hear what fans will probably have to say at home.
oh,
Um,
it
because
could get ugly. I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, I'll promise my best
not ugly,
behavior.
but I'm not saying like I'm 100%
No, no.
sure we're not going to hear booze, but I think it will be for the fans' state of mind. If they see a bad performance at home, you may not hear it in the stadium, but on the way out and through the social and everything else, that's where the loudest will be. But I don't expect anything, at the stadium at the moment until after the
I
fact.
think differently.
You think there will be?
Yeah, I mean, there were booze yesterday,
Ooh,
and there was more than booze yesterday.
you just heard boo.
And
We'll just keep it at that.
but also, I feel like if we lose
Mm,
in a bad way, or so like if we don't show any offensive life on Sunday, we're definitely getting booze around, and
ooh.
it's not gonna be just saying supporter wise, but it's gotta be like a whole stadium type scenario because um the last game against Austin, I did hear some. I don't know if they were directed to the team,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard some,
Yeah, if you
and
heard something, fine.
I wasn't happy, and I'm one of those that I will support you. I'll be behind you. I'll keep going to the games. I'll cheer for you 90.
Right.
But if you're not showing, then I'll let you know.
Oh, and
And
deserve.
and and for example, like against Austin, and it sounds petty, I didn't clap them. When they came to us,
Mm-hmm.
I look at you and I start looking at you and I'm like, I'm not clapping you.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's what happens, right? When you don't meet expectations.
So definitely I did not clap yesterday.
Ooh, yeah, that. Hopefully, they hear it loud and clear.
I hope it
Um,
did
and it looks like Lutz and team has heard it. Because that's pretty much what he mentioned yesterday. Today's
this morning.
on the radio. So hopefully that will trickle down to the rest of the players as well. You know,
Yeah.
put a
I
hundred.
mean
Put
our fan base has to demand results. We're not we're not here to just have a team and be happy because we have a team.
no,
That's
honeymoon
not
is
what we
over.
want to do. Yeah.
Yes,
But I
honeymoon is
mean,
over.
I'll we have a good fan base, so I don't think like we will have that honeymoon effect of like having empty stadiums or
Oh
anything
no,
like that. I think like our fan base is good, is big, is strong, is passionate about the sport, but the way of like, hey, we're gonna forgive everything you guys do if you messed up, or If you don't perform, we're just gonna be okay. Like, no, I think we are a solid fan base where we are gonna let you know that we want more, and I think that's coming to a point now where, because the moves are always the same and the answers of the questions are always the same,
I
and
know Oscar's not liking those.
no, it's not even the questions at this point. Is that
Oh, the topics, I guess.
is the answers to it, is the way that, I don't know, I haven't listened to the presser, but I believe someone said that he left the game thinking like, oh, we did good.
It looks like there was parts, yeah, that he mentioned that it was part of the games that were
And
good.
I mean, you can come out even if you think you did something good, and now, yes, your first half was decent.
Mhm.
You just lost against your rival. You just lost 2-0, not scoring, with all your fans taking a 4-hour trip, taking time of their life, taking time of families, some of them, taking, um, some people took time off on jobs because they work on the weekend to go and do those things. And you're going to come and say, well, we did good. We should have a better result. Now,
No, no,
take responsibility, say like, we should do better. We There's no excuse. We should have beat this team. We should have been focused on this. Like, I want someone that goes to the president and say, I'm hurt
no.
because we did not win. Not every game we did better, we deserve better, we should have scored, we should have, no, we should have, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Tell
for KC, you win. Yeah. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much, I think, the sentiment across. Um, but what we're going to do is we're going to just have another good night of sleep. Get ready for Charlie and his stats on Top Corner Talk. And like Daniel just said, I guess maybe we'll have to bring Jeremy. So at the end of the day, it started to sound like we just, then I think it's the time for you to cut a check for Jeremy to just join us on
Oh,
Top Corner Talk.
let me get accounting on that
Yeah,
end.
but no, I think Dan, Dan, since he made that proposition in the chat, I think Dan's going to write that check and
Okay.
we'll have Jeremy show up.
I was
Super.
joking around yesterday with a very upset zombie,
Uh,
and I was telling, I was like, come on, talk. So I'm gonna shoot him a message tomorrow
uh,
morning
oh,
and see if he wants
he's a
to bring
wordsmith,
some.
so he will come up with some interesting way of telling us his displeasure.
Yeah, we share a couple thoughts, and it was like, yeah, I know in which that state of mind we are right now, but I think he sees it very well as a fan. Because I mean, he's a lover of the sport. He
Oh,
follows a lot of things and seeing a lot of things.
yeah, and I probably understand from you guys, right? Because you were there. You made all those arrangements. Um, that's why I keep saying, right? It's not the way that you lost to KC; is just the way of it. The previous games against KC were ugly as well, but still, defense came home with some type of, like, we're looking forward to the next game. But right
Yeah,
now, it's all of what happened. Even the playoff lost was people were not this upset they are at this moment.
yeah,
And that
yeah. I
says a lot.
mean, I didn't travel to the playoff loss, but uh, the team at least showed some life
Ooh.
at the end. It tried to get something under the skin, and um,
No.
we haven't lost like that bad to them. Like, I mean, I think we lost the first one
Yeah,
that
I
we
I
played
think that was the
there.
I think that was the first playoff. I think was like what 4-0 or something. It was
I-
like
I-
that cold rainy day.
but that was at home, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you, like, even like that 4-0 at home didn't hurt me as much as what we present yesterday.
oh, that's what everybody's telling me is that this loss was worse than all of the other loss that happened. Like,
Yeah. And now one thing I'll tell you is because when we lost 4-0, we were at home. I didn't have KC fans rubbing it on my face at that moment.
yeah, yeah, that was a
And I didn't have, so we knew it was gonna be complicated. We all knew when we got matched against Kansas City, we said that's gonna be very tough
right.
because they, as
Yeah,
a
on fire.
team, as a franchise, have experience. They have ways to, and Burmese is an old dog, so he knows his little tricks and whatever. So we all knew that those 3 games or 2 games were gonna be very tough. And we came in and definitely they show us how it was done.
Yep.
And it wasn't that hard. Also because we had a successful season. Um, this one, we come to their last in the league. They
Dead
haven't
last.
won in a while. We knew they would score goals, but they give up options. They give up goals.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything about it. And then, in the fans' perspective, is that we were the only fans in that stadium until the 77 minute or 80th minute, whatever was the
Mhm.
second goal. Because not even the first goal. The first goal was like, okay, we can get it back. Come on, we're gonna keep chanting. But the second goal then is when he changed to,
Yeah, because
now they are fans. Now they are rubbing it on our face. You could see, like, and it's funny to see, like, there was a group of top, young teenagers that they were just quiet the
yeah,
entire game. They were all concerned. They were just watching the game. But the moment they scored the second goal, the full group of like 9 kids just stood up and they just all turned around and they're like, ha ha ha. And you're like, ah, like, it's like I cannot tell them anything. They're kids. They're all that stuff, but you're like, and they're rubbing it on our faces, and you look at the south end that they're always trying to give us some
trouble.
hard moments and hard stuff, and so it their fan base didn't exist until those minutes, and that's kind of like what it's
Mm,
really offensive to us. Good for them. They did what I mean, in
yeah.
that moment, good for them. They're a terrible fan base. I'm not gonna lie that. I would never gonna. They are very. They're good talkers. They're good. They talk the trash. They're good on the keyboard. But they don't show on the stadiums. They're not hurt on the stadium. But the moments like that things go their way, then
That's when everybody
they're
wakes up.
loud. And that's what I feel like everybody feels more offensive and that this one hurt most is because I mean we were there to create the party and we had the party until our team
They,
didn't
they
didn't
crashed
show
out.
up. So
Yeah, yeah, and trust me, they all letting us know it's everywhere on social media. So it's going to be a long what month and something until we get another chance and show them, how support. At least supporters will show them how it's done. Hopefully, the product on the field will do the same thing. But with that, Oscar, definitely appreciate you joining in. I think it's always fun to talk when there's someone else. Um, and thankfully, you came home safely, so we can, like I said, have our talk tomorrow on Top Corner Talk. I believe 9 p.m. or 8:30 Central Time tomorrow with our
think
good
so.
friend
8:30.
Charlie. We'll try to get Jeremy and our soccer zombie. We'll try to pry him from his editing and see if we can get a little bit more a different view of what city soccer is like. But And unfortunately, the weekend ended with also C2 losing to, fortunately, Colorado Rapids too.
Mm-hmm.
So just the icing on the cake of SKC making our weekends awful, Cronky making our weekend awful. So, you know, just erase it, and hopefully next week will be better.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. Glad you came back safely. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Top Corner Talk with Charlie, 9, 8:30 Central Time. Take care, guys. Peace.
Thanks, Mo.